guys, and if you're just tuning in, my name is Ben, and I'm from Overland Garage. If you didn't figure that out already, but welcome to another episode of Tech Talk. And today we're talking fluid film. Yes, that's right, fluid film, the lanolin-based undercoating. And this is going to be my 1-year review, and the reason why it's not more or less is because I applied it last year, I drove it a whole season, and I want to show you the product and how it looks after 1 year, because I know a lot of you have questions, and I get these questions all the time. Well, how long does it last? Do you need to do it annually? Or seasonally? Or what do you need to do? So, this is my 1-year review on fluid film undercoating on Overland Garage. So, thanks for tuning in. Now, let's recap for a second. I get all these questions. How long does fluid film undercoating last? There's a couple of questions you need to ask, and they depend because, number one, what kind of driving do you do? Number two, where do you drive it and when do you drive it? It's kind of a two-part question. And number three, how heavily was the undercoating applied? Let's answer number one. So number one, what kind of driving do you do? For me, I drive the truck seasonally and some winter, depending on the trips I do. Now, I've done one winter trip and it wasn't where there was snow, but I have driven the truck in heavily snowy conditions with heavy calcium. And I will say that the fluid film does stand up. And the good thing about this is you apply the fluid film, and then as the calcium builds up, the fluid film falls off with it. So you don't have this calcium getting trapped inside the frame, or you don't have this calcium building up on bare steel or bare paint and eating away. Like this calcium chloride they put on the roads in Maine is like battery acid, and it really just destroys the vehicle. So anything that you can do to undercoat your vehicle is better than nothing. I choose fluid film because I trust it. Now, this is a loaded question. The type of driving you do, I would say that I would be in the category of severe based on climate and the area I'm in. There's a heavily salt base because I'm near the ocean, and then we're on the coastline where I'm at, and then also the heavy amount of salt and calcium chloride. Now, they have recently lowered the amount of calcium chloride content they're putting in the salt in the wintertime, but once again, it's always better to put fluid film or some sort of undercoating on your frame, and just to get a good coating to protect your vehicle. So that's number one type of driving, and for me it's severe duty. So let's answer number two. Where do you drive it and when do you drive it? Me, I drive it mostly from springtime to the beginning of winter. And that's only because I have a dedicated vehicle that is a winter vehicle that I plow with, and I heavily undercoat that too. So this kind of plays into the same equation, and I put a lot of undercoating on that. And what I've noticed is the fluid film works really good. It's inexpensive. It's like $45 to $50 a gallon. Put a couple of gallons on this truck and my other truck, and they last great. So why are we focusing on type of driving? Because fluid film might not be a permanent solution for everybody. In Maine, it's an annually thing, depending on how long in the winter, how heavily you drive it in the winter. If it's a plow truck, I'd say every 6 months, because the type of driving is going beyond severe into extreme duty driving. So those are the two reasons. The type of driving, I'm a seasonal driver with this truck in particular, and the severe duty based on the plow truck, which is a severe to extreme duty based on the plowing with the calcium chloride. Now, the reason there's a number three for how heavily the undercoating was applied, because I've seen all kinds of things when it comes to fluid film undercoating. And I personally do a lot of, I have probably 80 customers every year. And just recently I've started doing them all season long. And the reason for that is you don't have to just undercoat your vehicle in the wintertime. it's a good idea to get it done earlier in the year, and then you can wash it off right after the season. So let's say you get it done in the fall and you run a whole winter long. Now I use a product called Purple Power. Most of you know what that is. It's a heavy duty degreaser. And then in the springtime, after the salt and everything's built up on the fluid film, I wash it off 2 or 3 times. And then I reapply fluid film for the spring, summer, fall season. And then I wash it off and then I reapply. Now you're like, why are you so fanatical with that? Well, because I hate rust, and anybody that is a mechanic that works on anything knows as much as I do that you hate working on rust. I'd rather deal with a little bit of slime, get a little bit dirtier, than to deal with any amount of rust. The other reason I am answering this question is I've seen dealerships, I've seen your everyday backyard mechanic apply fluid film, and they don't do a thorough job, and they don't apply enough. Now that is based on 2 things: the pressure in the gun and the amount of fluid film you're putting on based on the nozzle of the gun. So the pressure in the gun makes a big difference, because if you have too much pressure, like more than 90 psi, you really don't need 90, but 90 I found is good with the tip adjustment. You can put on quite a bit of fluid film, get a really good amount of coverage, and not have too much overspray. If you get too much overspray, you're wasting product. Now, I'm going to show you this truck and show you after 1 year what it looks like underneath and why I apply a good liberal amount of fluid film to the frame and undercarriage. Quickly, before I give you a good shot of the underneath of this truck and show you why I put a good amount on, I'm saying 2 gallons. And 2 gallons because length of vehicle, width of vehicle, it's like cubic space of the vehicle underneath that it takes to cover this truck. But the reason why I put so much on this truck is because there's one selfish reason. I put a ton of time and energy into this truck, and the only reason that this truck is still around is because of fluid film. I've tried Rust-Oleum products, I've tried POR 15, I've tried brand name products that quote say rust will not build up. No, what happens is the salt gets behind it and those things come off in big flakes. So for me, the only thing that seems to work is fluid film. It's a mess to put on, but once you're done, you can go a whole season, you wash it off in the spring, you reapply. It's no big deal. I'd rather do that for $50 a gallon. It's $100 a year, and undercoat this thing with a lot of fluid film and know that I'm not going to have to deal with rust in the future. So with that, let's take a look at the underneath of this truck, and I'll talk about why it lasted so long and why it's a good idea to put a good amount of fluid film on. So as you can see, as we're looking at the undercarriage of this truck, that the fluid film has faded a little bit. It's not as shiny as it once was when we first started with the application, but you'll notice that the fluid film is all still there, and the frame actually looks really good. Every time I get this thing, every time I pull up somewhere, somebody will be complimenting the truck and how it looks underneath, and they'll be like, wow, how did you get it so shiny and black? And I'll say, well, it's fluid film undercoating. And I'm like, fluid film doesn't come in black. Well, it does now, and they put a black pigment in it to make it black. So I just wanted to show you guys why it's a good idea to undercoat, because if you'll notice, what I am showing you is that the vehicle looks like brand new underneath, and that's because I've faithfully every year and sometimes semi-annually done this undercoating and made sure that there is no rust buildup. Now, another question people ask me is, do I have to do any prep? Do I have to wash it? Yes, it's a good idea to wash the truck first. Yes, it's a good idea to do a little prep. But is it going to be a problem? No. You're never going to stop the rust, but you can definitely slow it down. And that's all we're trying to do. We're trying to slow the process down. And this vehicle is a 1983, so if you do the research, 1983, that's almost 40 years old, and I have kept the vehicle around that long because I've undercoated it religiously. So, if you're thinking about undercoating your vehicle, and you're like, I don't want to spend a ton of money. Well, you don't have to, because Fluid Film is out there and it's right available at any auto parts store, and it's an easy product to apply. I mean, I spent a little bit of money on the gun, but it's paid for itself. I literally, it takes me less than an hour to do this now, and it's a really easy product to use. Yes, it stinks a little bit, but it's non-flammable, it's lanolin based, so you know you're not getting an EPA hazard, or you're not gonna have people upset at you because you're spraying oil under your vehicle. It's a really easy product to use. So did Fluid Film pay me to do this video? No. And I'm not asking Fluid Film to pay me to make this video. What I'm saying is, it's that good of a product that I wanted to get a video out there showing a 1-year review to answer the question of how long does it last, what type of driving am I allowed to do afterwards, and is it something that I can do? And the answer to all three of those is yes. It lasts 1 year, hands down. Yes, it will come off, but that's not a bad thing. That just means that it's doing its job. Number two, yeah, it's easy. Just get the gun, you can do it yourself. They even sell spray cans. If you really wanted to go crazy, you could buy the little aerosol cans and do it yourself. And would I recommend it to you? 100%. I recommend Fluid Film Undercoating to you. So, if you like this content, continue to hit that little button down there, like and subscribe, and spread the word on Overland Garage, because we're a growing channel, and I'm here to show that we can not only go out and explore, but we can build something, and these are the maintenance steps required to keep a vehicle around this long. I'm doing something that not many people would do. I'm taking a 1983 vehicle and I'm taking it out and exploring the country with it, but I'm being smart about it because I undercoat my vehicle. I do all the necessary maintenance to keep it around, and you can do that too. My point is, you can do what I do if you take the necessary measures to make sure it stays around. So yes, Fluid Film all the way. And thank you for watching Overland Garage, and continue to support this channel. So stay tuned next time for Tech Talk on Overland Garage.